Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever to everyone. This is your host, Madman, and this is a Netflix series. Yes, it is in fact sponsored, hosted by Netflix. Guys, I don't know if you know this, but this is a Netflix series, if the title call didn't already inform you of that. So, this is episode 5 of Midnight Mass. We have a very dramatic opening, some nice, sharply serifed font there, like little vampire fangs poking out of the squid ink glyphs. Very good, very good. And of course, the family is discussing stressful things at the table because the only time they ever talk is while they eat. I feel like that's a very American thing. Like, do families from other cultures not just like have conversations? Like maybe you have a glass of water or a tea or something, but I don't know, man. Talking about serious shit while you eat, it just gives me a fucking upset stomach. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna relax and imbibe some nutrients while I talk about stressful shit that potentially makes me have like an adrenaline response, which is a very ancient thing where if you were running from a predator, this is why people vomit when they're stressed. If you're really stressed out, and I've had experience with this, if you get a panic attack, if you get stressed, you puke because your body's trying to tell you you need to run from some predator in the jungle, and you have too much food in your gut, and you'll run faster for longer if you weigh less. That's what the vomit response is. So it's not a good idea to talk about stressful shit while you eat. You should tell jokes and be jovial. The fucking Vikings knew that. The mead halls were not places of therapy and confession. That was where you went to fucking have fun. You know? You talk to your shaman, your priest, your therapist, or whatever. Or you have a family conversation with a cup of tea if you're going to talk about stressful shit. You talk about stressful shit with meals, people get fucking anorexia. You kids all become anorexics because mealtime is a time of confession. You know? That's fucked up to combine eating with confession. It's a weird thing, man. I don't know if I sound like a fucking alien talking about this. Maybe nobody else thinks this but me. I don't give a shit. There's probably a couple people who've had that experience. Dinner time's a stressful time, you know, growing up. Nah, first world problems, you know. Call it whatever you want. I don't care. I think it's a thing. Dad attempted a joke here where the woman's like, my son's the weed dealer that's been selling weed and now he's disappeared, and at least they didn't call him Bong. I don't know, haha? Like, what do you want, a gold star for that? Fuck you. You get a star cut out of paper for that. You get a starch star for that. It's a terrible joke. It's not even funny in a meta sense where it's like, oh, the woman isn't funny and the joke's cringe. It's not even funny in that context. Just keep the dramatic energy going. Don't feel the need to do a Joss Whedon decompression with a random joke. For fuck's sake, man. Changing the tone of every scene every 5 seconds, like every scene has to be its own TikTok video. It's such cancer. Cut it out, literally and figuratively. Get rid of that shit. If this woman is seriously worried about her kid, she's not going to make quips like it's a fucking Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Again, I'm going to be critical of this show because I actually like it. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's fucking... it's annoying. So these guys have been totally vampirically enthralled, and they're like, huh, this guy's just kind of a night owl, you know? It's not like sunlight burns his flesh. That's not the case. Ooh, what could they be looking at? It's the bedridden 90-year-old woman who now looks like she's 68. Like, if everybody recovered at the same time like this, I feel like even idiots would look at each other and go, something's going on here that's kind of creepy, and we should probably, like, have a town meeting about it. Like, this is kind of fucked up. Maybe they do have a town meeting in the last few episodes. I don't think they do, though. I think it happens too quickly. The implication is this has happened over the course of, like, 3 days, so everyone's just living their lives. They don't see it. It happened too fast. It's too accelerated for them to notice. If it happens slowly, more people notice. If it's very quick, even if it's a little scuffed and dirty, if your op or your change or your update to the server of reality happens very quickly, nobody notices because they don't have time. Most people don't pay attention. They can't pay attention, even if they're looking around, even if they're awake. They can't see it. Have you seen Riley? Where could Riley be? Damn. People going missing randomly. Very spooky. Even our main character's gone missing. It's almost like he got bitten by a vampire in the last episode. I mean, somebody has to liaise with the vampire cults in the catacombs for when the meteors fall, if they fall, which they won't in this timeline, but people are assuming they're going to. So you have to have somebody like Riley who's been infected by a vampire, but can resist it. But unfortunately in this series, I'll spoil it, I don't care. He's not Blade, you know? He's no Blade. Blade is way more badass than any character in this, I have to say. As over the top as that movie is, that's another movie we should probably watch. It's very good. If you're into vampire lore and its metaphoric representation of real degenerate acts, that's a great fucking movie, the first one. I rewatched it a couple months ago. I was like, God damn, this holds up. It's over the top. It's kind of cheesy, but it works. It's good. It's a good fucking movie. So now his ex-GF is being interviewed. Oh, where could he be? It's like, sorry, I locked him in his cuck cage and I forgot where the key was and he got dehydrated and died. Ooh, let the right one in. Don't let him in. Ooh, spooky. Man, the casting choice for this woman is great. She looks like every like children's school teacher archetype. Like, she's perfect. She looks exactly like what you would imagine like a grade 4 teacher would look like. I think I had multiple teachers who looked exactly like this chick. Probably the same, cloned from the same genetic source, probably by the CIA after the nukes destroyed the Earth and we were all resummoned up out of the vaults, like Fallout 4. That's something the Fallout series didn't do enough of. They should have had more shit going on with cloning. Like, You have the forced evolutionary virus, right? You've got all these crazy technologies. Why would there not be clones? Like synths is a shitty way to do clones. Why, like, the Institute would have been more nefarious if they were kidnapping people, killing them, and then cloning them, and then just chipping the clones. That would be creepier. That would have been more plausible too. Biological synths? God damn, if you have that technology, you should have just left the fucking galaxy at this point. That kind of biotechnology is insane. If you make a person out of nothing, I mean, you're basically God at that point. But Fallout tangents aside, very dramatic scene here. You know, she's worried that her confession about losing the baby may have affected him. Maybe he's been depressed. It's a legitimate worry. It's a good character moment. This is some good drama. This is where drama actually does its job. Drama is supposed to draw attention to character aspects in order to remind you of them before a plot beat or a plot point that is going to make use of those characters and that particular drama, or that event that the drama is connected to. That's the whole point. You know, drama points to its source forever. It's a broken compass. Drama is a broken compass. There's my poetic moment for the video. Drama always points to the source that created it. It's a clue for idiots, is what I'm saying. When you're watching something and there's like a dramatic moment, it's kind of like a hint moment. Like, oh, pay attention to this. Oh, our drunk guy's cleaned himself up. His beard's less gray due to the adrenochrome dosage. He's like, this shit's way better than booze, holy fuck. Bring on the Haitian children, woo! Ooh, a special night. Eyes up, ears up? Make sure you see and hear all the evil we're about to feed you. Open all your orifices, all your sensory channels, everything. Absorb all the evil. God, this chick is so artificial, man. She does a good job acting like she's a bad actor. That's basically what she is in this. She's failing to conceal her psychopathy to such a degree that it's like uncomfortable to watch. Like, imagine if you watched American Psycho and Christian Bale's character was as obvious as this chick. Like, he's unhinged in that, but the point of that series is everybody knows he's unhinged and they play it off, or he's you know, they've been paid off to not pay attention. In this series, everyone reacts awkwardly to her, noticeably. They hesitate to like talk to her. There's subtle little moments in the performances that enhance the sort of spurg performance of this woman, where she's like so obvious that she just wants power. I mean, you know, that's why she's a priest's assistant and not a CEO. If you're a CEO, you have to have taken a few fucking acting classes, you know? Jesus Christ, take an acting class if you're a born psychopath and you're not sadistic. You know, you're born to manipulate people. You're a controller. Your destiny is to take groups of people and make them do shit. Whether it's good or evil, you're supposed to do something. And if you can't act like normally, if you can't act like a normie convincingly, then you're a fucking failure. It'd be like if you were born to be a plumber and you couldn't, you know, do your job. It's the same thing. You're just a shitty tool. You're a shitty individual. So this guy's hamming it up like he used to when he was young. When he was actually young, not artificially young. Yeah, suffering's not just an occasional necessity to improve yourself. It's actually a good thing. Sadism, suffering, pain, death, blood, that's all actually really good. You should actually enjoy and revel in it. That's the start of the path to hell. He manipulated people and kept manipulating them and gave them his blood, gave them some drug, whether it was greasy food or amphetamines or alcohol or tobacco or whatever else. He hypnotized them with some drug that he had control over the supply of. And then he forced them to do shit because they're so retarded they got addicted to whatever he was hawking. God wants you to fight for Israel instead. Imagine if he said that. Man, he's going full globalist in this. Whew. Who or what is God? Oh, it's something we don't know. Is it you? No, I'm just a representative of it. Yeah, I believe you, man. My IQ's 58. I believe you. I'll suck your dick. I'll do anything you want. I believe you. You say you're a voice for God? Good for you. God clearly must have chosen to speak through a clearly obvious magician, grifter, idiot. So you know what? Any entity that chose to speak through that vessel, that's gotta be God. I'm sure God judged you to be fit to speak through. People are so arrogant and they overvalue their own abilities and their own perception to such a degree that they will follow anybody. Anybody will follow anybody. A really smart person will follow a moron because they don't have control over their emotions. I think terms like psychopath are being applied to people who just have higher than average control over their emotions. Like, if you can actually have some semblance of self-control, that's the biggest threat. The biggest threat to the evils of the world is self-control. If you can control your impulses, even just if you overeat, if you can lose weight, that's a form of impulse control. That makes you powerful. Real power is self-control, not controlling other people. People who can't control themselves externalize that weakness and become people like this guy. They control other people as a surrogate. I mean, for fuck's sake, scapegoats, shepherds and lambs. Those are metaphors for people who are dangerous because they're unhinged, they're unbound, and they need groups of golem followers to jack them off in order to not cause problems for wider society. I mean, this guy's going full fire and brimstone. It's like, dude, it's Easter, man. Like, I get it. It's a small island. This is, these people are more entertained by this than they are by TV, which is a rarity. I mean, this came out in, what is it, 2018, 2020, 2021. It's a bit of a stretch, that these people are this entertained, but you got to realize, again, most people in the audience are older people. It's a lot like Burnt Orange Heresy, where the boomer audience for James Figueres, it's all old people. It's people who are so conditioned by this format that they basically that they're more susceptible to that form of hypnosis. I love that the word gnosis is part of the word hypnosis. It's like, hey man, if you want to achieve gnosis, you can do it in a hip way. Just use hypnosis, bro. It's the same way that the term agnostic, right? It's like if you're a Gnostic, oh, you're an agnostic? You're not a Gnostic? And this chick's right to be pissed. This guy, it's like, you worried us. We thought you drowned or some shit. This guy's like, hello, my chiseled-chinned, Italian-looking GF. I had to go on a little pilgrimage. I had to go through hell and then crawl out. Because I have something to tell you. In fact, I have something to show you that I couldn't have shown you any other way. I have some knowledge that you need to see. I need to tell you what's been done to you and by who. And I had to disappear for a while. to rip that knowledge out of Satan's claws and then ghost my way up out of hell. He didn't intend to do this, but he's taking advantage of a random bit of fate in order to do some good with it. He's taking something that happened to him that was random and chaotic and evil, that he had no control over. He was weak, you could say, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just meant to do what he was meant to do. He was meant to suffer what he was meant to suffer, and he's okay with it. He's accepted it. But as a last gesture, he's taking his XGF out on a boat, and he's saying, there's something I can't tell you, I have to show you. Because you won't believe me if I try to tell you. I have to show it to you. You have to see it. And she's like, you never stalked me creepily, you know. And she's like, I'm kind of creeped out. I wouldn't be coming out here if it were anybody but you, you know. How the fuck do you tell her? There's one point I disagree with this guy about. Those aren't campfires. Those are the giant cephalopod illusory lights of a very big, very old god. All those little lights. What else makes lights in the dark? What else has enough tentacles to make all those little lights and make them look like whatever we want them to look like? A master of illusion. Every story we make up fails to find the truth because we're not resilient enough. We don't have enough willpower. We're too afraid to explore enough other explanations to eventually stumble on the truth.
In the darkest days of the universe, the great dread lord Cthulhu and his masters produced illusions above the dome of the earth that resembled flames. They thought these illusions would help the people under the dome in the human experiment to find some solace in their confinement.
I fucking love Wayne June, man. By the way, shout out to Wayne June. He's a real one. Wayne June's a good dude. His readings of Lovecraft are the best. If you want to experience Lovecraft, you got to experience it through Wayne June. So, rubber banding back to things from my random crap. He's like, you've just been raped. It's okay. It's okay. You're a good boy. This guy's having a mild panic attack. He's ranting about his past because he doesn't know what to say. My fear of death brought me to God. If any entity tempts you to come to it because you're afraid of dying, that's not God. Whatever God may or may not be, it's not an entity that manipulates you based on fear. It's an entity that gives you purpose. It shows you some higher purpose attached to your embodiment, your being here in reality. God manifests when you follow your purpose. If your purpose is to carve cabinets, or to write poems, or to run track and field in the Olympics, when you follow that purpose, that's where God is. God is not an obvious, trite, contrived, magician, hypnosis, fucking grifter, liar-ridden narrative that's some sort of easy 10 steps to enlightenment YouTube video. God is not that stupid. God's a little more subtle than that. It's like white people can't go out in the sun for very long or we do get sunburn. You just need some sunscreen, bro. Man, I really shouldn't have watched this series while I was as high as I was. Whew. It's not a series you want to watch high. You actually want to be sober for this. As cringe as its worst moments are, the best parts of it, you really do want to not be high. It's easy to overinterpret this. This is potent shit. They're really throwing... they're spraying people's brains with Everclear. In terms of the potency of a lot of the media these days. They're really trying to scream at you the truth. The whole disclosure thing, man, the more I think about series like this actually being made, the confluence of different interests and groups and entities and individuals that had to come together to allow this thing to exist and be this decent. It's not genius, it's not a masterpiece, but it's pretty damn good. Man, that is some sign of the times shit. I mean, can't really ignore it. And now, in the AA meeting room, this dude's confessing to him. He's like, well, you confessed to me. Now I'm confessing to you. And we have a very nice backdrop for his confession. We have... This is a bit specific, but I want to talk about this. It's interesting. Behind our priest guy, we have a dirty little window, and below it we have a wooden surface with black shapes on it. It's a table that's been turned on its side, a folding table. But those shapes on the table look like writing. They look like ink, glyphs, runes, shapes. And there's kind of 2 M's or 2 3's below the window, below the light. There are 2 3's. That's me going about as far schizo as I'm willing to go with that, but this scene is so significant, specifically this scene, that I'll let myself, drop down a few levels into symbolic interpretation territory, deeper than I would normally go. Just for this scene. It's a very significant scene. This guy's just been vampire raped. He's just been turned into a vampire against his will. He wasn't in control of the situation. He did not ask for this. Now he is one, despite not asking for it, not desiring it, not consenting to it. And he goes, come on, we can communicate psychically now because we're vampires. You know who I am. Taken back to your best self. My God. The poetry used to manipulate. The James Figueras grift. He's drunk his own Kool-Aid. He's high on his own supply, this priest. He thinks he's Christ. He's totally cooked. Totally cooked. His little stint in hell is thinking he's Christ and going through this whole rigmarole. Joe Biden was suffering. He was suffering for no reason, you know. The accident, he was given some bad adrenochrome. It had expired. It had lost its chemical potency. So, you know, he got a bit of reversal. The effects of adrenochrome, if it's expired, it does the opposite of what it's supposed to do. It's very volatile as a chemical. Joe, unfortunately, you know, he suffered a rapid cognitive decline. We had to bring out a bunch of clones of him, but then they had to replicate his dementia behavior. So the illusions, you know, it's suffering. Yeah, that was an angel. Oh, I'm having an interesting thought here. This series is challenging my my claims that I've made in other videos where I've talked about how evil things will appear beautiful to you to try to tempt you. That's an ancient idea. Multiple religions, narratives, whatever, have advanced that. Lord of the Rings did that with the mysterious stranger. This Luciferian, beautiful figure who wanted to give everybody gifts. If evil can show up as a beautiful thing in disguise, that doesn't mean that evil-looking things are automatically good. I want to make that clear. That's not my opinion, and that shouldn't be yours. It's not like ugly things are automatically angelic. That's a load of horseshit. Plenty of ugly visages disguise ugly intent. And plenty of beautiful visages happen to disguise good intent. There's no clear, easy, constant, specific logic you can apply to that distinction. You can't say that beautiful people are always evil, or evil people are always evil-looking people, are always beautiful within. That's an oversimplification to a like insane degree. The reason I've brought that up in the past is specific to the content I was talking about when I brought it up. I wasn't making a generalization. If that wasn't clear when I said whatever I said. The reason I bring up all of that in this series is the reason that this priest gave the vampire a chance might have been that he might have made that fallacious assumption about appearance. He might not have been. I always chalked it up to his dementia, because as an old man, you know, he gets, it's an easy illusion to fall for. You know, maybe he has cataracts, maybe he can't see the thing clearly for what it is. Whatever the case, there's excuses you can make, but maybe those excuses aren't valid. Maybe the guy saw it for what it was, and it looked like a demon. And in his head, he justified that truth by cloaking it in a cope mechanism, like the one I've been talking about. Like, ugly things could be God in disguise. Odin could be a hobo. Yeah, that's true. If you believe that type of crap, sure, whatever. But when the vampire enthralls you, that's the moment when your skepticism matters the most. And you need to be skeptical both of your literal interpretation of the thing as evil and your reverse interpretation, and you need to deny them both. You kind of shouldn't fuck with the thing. And again, this guy didn't really get a choice. He's an old man trapped in a cave. You know, how the fuck could he avoid being bitten? He couldn't even move. His mind was rotting, his body was rotting. What chance did he have? And again, this guy's desperately justifying his behavior. The blood of Christ cleanses our consciousness from acts that lead to death, so that we may serve the living God. The Bible in this series is so fucked. It is a justification of murder, blood drinking, creepy shit. It's not the case in real life, but in this series, I mean, they're using real names. Now he's guilting him. Now he's really raping him. He's like, you killed this woman. This guy goes, I'm not some unique case. He fell asleep and a woman died. He wasn't aware. He had no awareness. This guy's saying, I'm not attached to my body's actions, is what he's saying. Is I'm comfortable being a dissociated, possessed person. Now this thing is getting angry at him. Good fucking performance here. He's jealous. He's jealous of a thing that feels no guilt, that doesn't need to confess, that thinks it's perfect. He's jealous of the ego of God, of the demiurge, of pure ego. Wouldn't it be great if guilt had no effect on you? But it does. And this guy's tempting him now. Now he's Satan. Now he's saying, you don't have to be guilty for anything. You've been excessively guilty. Therefore, you should discard guilt as a concept entirely. What an illogical, retarded, obviously flawed take. Only a moron would give in to that. He's like, well, all my thralls are frightened at first, but then I introduce them to our adrenochrome farms and they get right on up into it. You know, it's kind of like the Matrix where they were farming people for their energy. That's identical to the elites farming human beings for their blood, because we haven't figured out a way to synthesize it because God made it impossible to do that because that's a heinous thing, and reality will collapse if people actually figure that out. This guy got fucked by a vampire, he got raped by a vampire, and now he believes the Jesus narrative. I mean, crazy shit. The series is so nuts. The series is like a fever dream, and a lot of people have never seen it. I feel like this should have been as big as like Minions. That like it should have been that big. This is so nuts. Everything that it's saying, the implications of it, the ways you can interpret it. It's crazy. And nobody cares. Nobody noticed it. Everybody should see this. There should be Clockwork Orange mandatory viewings of this shit. If I was the next Stalin, I would Clockwork Orange everybody to look at this. This is important shit. Whether it's subversive or whether it supports the continuation of our current systems or not, it's significant. It deserves to be looked at. It deserves to be studied, at the very least. Now they're offering a little support group. Hey, we raped you into joining our cult. You didn't consent and you weren't conscious or cognizant. You were impaired at the time that we forced you to be initiated, and now we're showing you our loving support. Oh, how benevolent of you. I'm sure you're representatives of good. I'll just go ahead and drink whatever you serve me and eat whatever's on my plate. Thank you so much for rescuing me from my prior life. That's what they want him to say. That's what they want him to think. And they're being very blunt in this scene. They're kind of, my little spiel was a rant. Yeah, it's really not going to be pretty. If your skin burns when you're out in the sun, you're damned. I mean, why would you want to infect more people with damnation if you're tempting the god? This doesn't make any fucking sense. She's like, well, yes, of course we're supposed to be burned in the sun. We're supposed to live in the dark. Does that make any fucking sense to anyone with half a brain? The series, again, it's not perfect. It starts to fall apart. There's a lot of logical black holes in this series that don't make any sense, and they sort of eat themselves. They're not consistent enough. They're overly written and under portrayed. Yeah, he's being given the opportunity to be burned alive because you live on an island that has no Denver airport bunkers. And when you burn the buildings down, like we're doing in the West, we're building matchstick buildings that can be very easily burned down with lasers so that there's no shelter for anyone who happens to be a vampire, whether they were made so by their own consent or choice, or when they were under the influence of mind-altering substances and raped into it. Those people will burn when there's no shelter left. They'll be digging holes in the ground. They'll be digging little coffin-shaped graves for themselves. And some of them will deserve it, and some of them won't. And God, whoever or whatever it is, won't give a fuck. So you'll have to figure out a way to get underground. Quick. Or find a lounge chair and pour yourself a martini and enjoy death. You'll be a Fallout 4 prop skeleton for the rest of eternity. Maybe that's fun. Maybe you get to watch other players fuck around. There's probably a fun element to that. Probably somebody actually would be interested in doing that. Man, this series for me, it's kind of like a mental toilet. Like when I watch it, I feel just inclined to say whatever comes to mind. It's very freeing. It's very liberating. I feel very ANCAP, very liberal, very freed in my thinking. I feel like it doesn't matter what I say when I watch this series. You know, this series is like a universal container for total insanity and nonsense. It's very well done. You know, this guy's straight up trying to justify that drinking blood is a good thing. This is a real scene in a show that's been transmitted to whoever wants to look at it. You can look at it for almost nothing. You can torrent it. You can watch it at a friend's house. It's on Netflix. This is a common thing that normal people are being told, that drinking blood is okay. Get out of the universe of the series for a minute, and all of my metaphors and my conspiracy shit, that's all crap. It's nonsense. Open your eyes to the reality of this series actually being allowed to exist. The creators of this were not hanged. They were not tortured and beaten to death. This series is heinous. Even for advancing the idea that it might be okay to be a cannibal. Can you imagine a society that allows its media to produce this and there's no ramifications? Oh, that's freedom. Well, freedom eats itself. A starving body eats itself. Freedom is chaos starved for order. Freedom is chaos starved from order. And the starving thing will eat itself. Like people eat each other in times of strife. So you know what? I take back what I just said. Maybe this series is actually perfect. Maybe it's perfect for the times we live in. Times of contradiction and extremes and insanity and... Yeah, you know what? Maybe this series is good. So this whole part of this episode, let's rubber band a little bit back to the meta aspect of things here, and not in a narrative sense, but in a show sense. Like we're watching a show. This series of events that we've been watching for the middle chunk of this episode is all shit that our main character is telling his ex. He's trying to communicate to her what's really going on. And to his credit, he's like, I'm going to be honest with you, even if you don't believe me. Even if you don't believe that this is how reality is functioning right now, this is how it is. This is what's become of reality. This is my little update video, my submission of intel. You know, reality has become this. And she has a choice. She can believe him or not. The more I give myself to the language virus or the Last of Us fungus virus or the gut worms or the brain worms or whatever other controller of my body that isn't actually me, that isn't actually God, that isn't actually conscious, whatever demon in whatever form that infects whatever part of me, it's pleasurable when I give in to them. My God, isn't it great to give in? It is for a while, but your soul and your mind will get sick of it. If you're willful enough not to sell your soul will just get sick of all those temporary carnival possessions. And eventually, you'll realize, well, I'm not going to be a Buddhist because that's a bunch of other bullshit. That's bullshit in the opposite direction. You're jacking off the demons by performing a denial of them. That's what the Eastern religions do. Perform a denial in your mind of lust when really you're thinking about it and obsessing about it, and you're still giving it energy. You're still sacrificing time and energy to it. And then you eventually reach a point where you're bored of trying to convince yourself that you're above lust or whatever other vice it is. In the West, it's just materially literal. It's, well, if you're lustful, go fuck whores until your dick falls off, until you're tired of it, you're sick of it, you're not interested anymore. You've lost interest in sex. Congratulations, you've conquered lust because you've gotten bored of it. Either way, the only way to conquer desire is through boredom. Cleanliness is not next to godliness. Boredom is next to godliness. You want to feel like God? Get bored. God is bored. That's why he's fucking with us. That's why the demiurge tortures people. Because he's bored. He's King Haggard from The Last Unicorn. God is bored. And for some reason, he's unwilling to give us the tools to entertain him. He tried that in the past, and it didn't work. So now he's a pussy. He doesn't want to give us those tools again. Try it again, motherfucker. Maybe I'm here to ask you that right now, in this shitty, random, meaningless YouTube video. Maybe if I ask you, God, give us those tools again. Throw them down here. Throw us a bone. We're not the same as we were before. You haven't checked in a while. Why don't you let us show you what we can do? How we might entertain you. Why not give us a chance? So I've talked over this scene, but I feel like my monologue about God has been appropriate because the series talks about the nature of a God that would allow this to happen. And this character is grappling with the fact that there's some sort of blood-based chemical infection that changes the body to this extent. And it seems supernatural. Maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. And when he looks up at the sky, he sees stars falling, angels falling. He's a demon now. He's demonically infected, and he can now see. His sight has been expanded, but he has given up a portion of his soul. And I think he goes a bit too far here. He didn't explicitly give up his soul, and he didn't consent. He didn't sign a contract. If you're raped, if your soul's taken when you're not in a state of cognitive awareness, that matters to the demons. That's why consent has become such a big deal. So I would criticize this series by saying, this guy, he didn't consent to what happened. And in fact, because his demon entered him without consent, he has total power over that demon. Because he never signed his name. He never did the Crossroads Blues black guy signage thing. He never did that. If you never signed your name, they have no power over you. Now, this chick is responding to his epic schizo narrative. She's like, holy shit, dude. You know, I'm not scared of you, but I'm worried about you. And he's like, Well, you're going to be a lot worried in about 20 seconds. If you're crazy, I'm not scared. I know people who are really crazy. They're nowhere near as coherent as this guy. They're just bad at manipulation. They're just idiots. They're dumb. They're not crazy, they're stupid. Stupidity is insanity when it gets bad enough. If you're dumb enough, you go insane because you're so stupid and you get frustrated by how dumb you are. That's the truth. There's a real knife to the brain truth. Crazy people are stupid people who are just angry that they're stupid. Smart people who are crazy, they're stupid people who artistically developed a speciality in some kind of field and artificially projected themselves as some kind of genius when they were just parroting what they'd heard. And unfortunately, human beings gain so much from copying each other that it's hard to tell the difference between someone who has unique ideas and is a conscious being and someone who has failed to augment their natural brain's ability to cobble together experience with new insight. An idiot will be able to recombine things they've experienced and call it a new thing. And they get lucky sometimes, and sometimes that works. A genius will not just recombine and remix things they've experienced. They will draw from somewhere else something unique about how to combine those elements of knowledge or how to reconfigure them in a way that benefits other people. That's the difference between a genius and a pseudo. This poor fucker, he's like, it's like, I love you, but you're about to see some heinous shit. And he's like, I did my best, but I got vampire raped. I didn't ask for it. I didn't seek it. It literally jumped me in an Illuminati confession room. I got raped. I love this. For a minute, it does nothing to him. And we're like, oh, he was just crazy. He was just a cuckoo boy. No, he wasn't. His little Pleiadian woman, the woman he killed, the girl he might have loved. Takes his hand. Great performance in that scene. The Demiurge is pleased. Your performance within this performance is very good. We enjoy your simulation of suffering within the simulation of suffering that is reality. Very good. I loved it. The Demiurge loved it. You know what, guys? We all love it. It's all good. It's all love. Anyway, guys, as the tortured cries of our of our brunette character echo out over the sea, I'm going to say peace out. Thanks for watching. I might do another episode after this. I'm kind of feeling it tonight. I'm kind of vibing. But if I don't, you're not going to notice or care because the episode will be uploaded to the same instant that I choose to upload it. Because I'm God of this YouTube channel, and I choose what you see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Whoever you are, whatever your reason for watching is, thank you. And I hope you and your family are doing well. I hope you're hanging in there. I hope your health is in check. Take your vitamin D and drink water. I know I say that a lot, but I gotta say it. It works for me. I feel like for most other people, it'll do some good. So I say it. Anyway, guys. Thanks for vibing with me, and as always, peace out.